How long does it take to collect 100 million sun in one level of PvZ2? Well, that's what I'm here to answer. But wait, before you skip to the end, which I know many of you will, let me just say that the end won't make any sense if you skip straight there, so I'd recommend skimming instead. In the 1 million sun challenge, we found out that it was possible to collect way more sun than is actually needed, but I also had a timer going, which by the time we collected 1 million, hit around 37 minutes. So it got me questioning, how long would it take to collect 100 million sun? But this time, we make a few adjustments to the strategy. Because of popular request, I replaced tile turnip with gold leaf and primal walnut with infinite. Also, every sun producing plant will be max level. Okay, enough of the pregame yap and let's get going. The first obstacle of this challenge was this max level shine vine, as the zombie I was trying to trap was this cone head in the middle lane. I had to make sure that the surrounding tiles had shine vines already placed on them before the zombie came in, because otherwise, since the shine vine is max mastery, it has a chance to activate plant food right as I place it down, which for some reason does damage to zombies in its surrounding tiles. And this is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I accidentally killed the conehead 6 times. Okay, to make up for that, I'm about to ult. Ready, set. I just spent 45 minutes of my life editing that. And here is the part where we just sit and wait. But before that, there are probably some of you screaming at the screen, telling me to use solar tomato and the tents, because it would be much faster in reaching 100 million sun. And you, in theory, would be correct. Because if you haven't noticed, we are currently playing in Lost City Day 17, which is the optimal level for the solar tomato and tent combo. And that's because this wasn't my first crack at this challenge. The very first strategy I used contained solar tomato, gum nut, time warp, and reinforcement. And honestly, it was a pretty solid strategy. But before I made it too far, I was doing some research and caught a flaw in the strategy. For some reason in my mind, I'd believed that every time Gumnut was plant fooded, that it hit every zombie on the screen. But even at max level, it only hits 10, which in the long run, it would get overwhelmed by the number of zombies. So, I then had to create a second iteration of this strategy, which included time warp and a top 5 plant of all time, iceberg lettuce for stall, which was working wonderfully. And I even hit 1 million in like 19 minutes, which was 18 minutes less than last time. But then, I started to notice something. The zombies seemed to be moving slower. The recharge of the solar tomatoes even seemed slower. Why was this happening? The reason? There were too many zombies on the screen at once, and every time I used the lettuce or tomato, there would be an even bigger spike of lag. And since I was only 2 to 3% of the way there, I realized this strategy was also not feasible for the long run. I tried looking through all of my options one more time, and nothing stood out. So, I was left with the original strategy, and now here we are. So, for the first 3.5 million sun, I was on the computer, placing power lilies and enlightenments constantly, because for some reason, my brain had assumed that this would take about 3 to 4 hours total. But when about 40 minutes had passed and I was only 3.5% of the way there, the true size of this challenge hit me, and it hit me hard enough that I left my computer on and went to sleep. About 2.5 hours had passed by and my minions had produced 9.1 million sun for me, and my human body had most likely entered REM sleep around this time. If I'm being honest with y'all, I was up watching YouTube videos on my bed for about 3 hours, and then I fell asleep. So about 5.5 hours in, when my minions had produced 17.9 million sun, was when I entered REM sleep. And I would like to mention that I saw all the comments about the Miss Shine Vine in the 1 million sun challenge, so I made sure that I had satisfyingly placed everything, besides this lawnmower. I had a little jump scare where I almost launched the middle lawnmower, almost killing the conehead, and to ensure that this wasn't even a possibility, I decided to launch this top lawnmower, so I apologize for the unsatisfyingness of the situation. Also, from now on, I will stop the time lapse every 10 million sun to touch on the progress and other interesting topics. At 6 hours and almost 13 minutes, we had reached 20 million sun, which means we were 20% of the way to the goal. And not to ruin the entirety of the game for anyone, but does anyone else think the sunflower is the most sus plant imaginable? I mean, it basically... Yeah, that's definitely getting censored. Just let your imagination fill in the blank. At 9 hours, 35 minutes, we had reached 30 million sun, which means we were 30% of the way to the goal. I'll also take this time to ask you guys to like and subscribe, and more importantly, watch my only Torchwood movie. At the 13-hour mark, we had reached 40 million sun, which means we're 40% of the way to the goal. Also, you might have noticed the challenge number up top actually says 1 billion, and that's because this was originally meant to be the 1 billion sun video, but that would have literally taken 2 weeks and 7 terabytes of storage, which I do not have. So, if PopCap ever releases a better sun producer, I might go for 1 billion sun. At 16 hours, 25 minutes, we had reached 50 million sun, which means we're 50% of the way to the goal. Yay, halfway. At 19 hours, 51 minutes, we had reached 60 million sun, which means we're 60% of the way to the goal. Also, random topic, but my favorite thing that PopCap could add to PvZ2 is more worlds along the lines of modern day. Kind of unpredictable and challenging. At 23 hours, 20 minutes, we had reached 70 million sun, which means we're 70% of the way to the goal. Also, what's your opinion on The Binding of Isaac? Personally, it's in my top 3 games so far in my entire life. At 26 hours, 24 minutes, we had reached 80 million sun, which means we're 80% of the way to the goal. I can't tell you what the next video is going to be, but it's the one I've been most excited to record. At 30 hours, 9 minutes, we had reached 90 million sun, which means we're 90% of the way to the goal. Also, I saw a tweet where someone mentioned that the sun is extremely loud, and we just don't hear it because of the vacuum of space, and it has completely thrown off my entire perception of the sun. And there we go, 100 million sun. And it only took 33 hours, 54 minutes, 18 seconds, and 1 millisecond. 1 billion sun up next. Okay, bye bye.